The following presentation is a live recording from the Get Certified Inspection Conference of the Year 2011 in Las Vegas, put on by Casey O'Malley and Associates. To get more information, visit inspectionconference.com. This presentation will begin after a short message about the new Alarm Leads program.
Welcome to the new Alarm Leads program from the Inspector Services Group. We're building it better, with more options for you than ever before and features you won't find anywhere else.
Our objective is to make sure that as a professional inspector, you have all the tools you need to make your business successful. Our goal at Inspector Services Group is to help you grow your business and improve your bottom line.
We will help you implement in your business this exciting program, working one-on-one with each of you to ensure that you receive the optimal benefits and features like automated lead submission, integration with your software, a free email newsletter engine for your inspection company, a personal security consultant for your clients, exclusive marketing content, discounts on products and services from the Inspector Services Group, online access to your account, enhanced transparency, and more.
Many of you have participated previously in programs that offered free 90-day warranties, recall check, or even cash. We're offering all three of those options once again, plus a pay-per-sale program where we will offer up to $200 for each alarm contract we receive. The new programs are designed to reward those that communicate with their clients most effectively, and we're offering this program throughout the U.S. and Canada.
As a part of the new Alarm Leads program, we will be strictly limiting the number of calls made to your clients. We will accept all inspections and process them, and we will even give your clients the ability to opt out of sales calls in the very first email we send them. We have taken steps to ensure that this program will remain stable and sustainable for years to come, which is why we have partnered with some of the largest and most reliable names in the alarm industry, including international, national, and regional providers, brands you and your client will be familiar with. We are working with multiple alarm companies to ensure that the program can continue without regard for a change in business plan from any one provider.
Get enrolled today by visiting www.alarmleadsprogram.com and we will get you started right away on an alarm program customized to suit your needs.
We're selling to real estate agents. I'm talking about listing agents here. And I have 2 hours slated. I might be an hour and a half. If everybody walks out at some point, I'll stop then. But I think I'll go less than 2 hours, so don't worry. All right. So everybody goes to fast food restaurants on a regular basis, right? Anybody not? Okay, good. Because you don't go there for good food, you go there for fast food. And if you've ever been to McDonald's, they get you in and out within like 2 or 3 minutes. You're done. You've already eaten within that 2 or 3 minutes, as a matter of fact. But if you go to Burger King, you don't. It's slow. And maybe you have a really well-run Burger King in your neighborhood or something like that. But I went there with my 7-year-old and 9-year-old a couple weeks ago. They love the place because they like the food. And we're sitting there, and the restaurant's empty. There's like one other person, and I kid you not, there's a drive-through lane, and Burger King's kind of infamous for having that microphone next to the cash register, right? A Whopper. 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 And then they wait until it ends up on the screen anyway, and then they start cooking it like it's the first time that they've ever cooked a burger. The problem is they're not delivering what the client wants, so they're getting their butt kicked. And they come out with Angus burgers, and then they're doing the French fry taste test. And there was something new from Burger King yesterday, and they've gotten rid of the king, apparently. They're now just Burger. They got rid of their mascot. So we have to deliver what people want, otherwise they're not going to come. Anybody ever do a pre-listing inspection? All right, quite a few of you, good. Anybody do more than one pre-listing inspection a month? Couple. Are you California? All right, good. Anybody do more than one pre-listing inspection a week? We got 2. Anybody do more than one a day? All right. How many people do more than one inspection a day for buyers? All right, or at least one, right? Most of us. It's because that's what buyers want. They want the inspection. What we try to do is we try to take the sellers and we try to sell them and their agent what the buyers want. So let's stop doing that. So why is it that so many buyers get inspections and so many sellers don't? Anybody got a reason for me? Why does the seller not get a pre-listing inspection?
They're hoping that they can scrape by without having anybody figure out the problems in the house.
All right, said that he's hoping they can get by without finding any problems. All right, let's turn that into one word: disclosure. All right, they don't want disclosure issues. What else? Anybody? Jeff? Cost, expense,
Lack of marketing.
lack of marketing.
To the seller.
You mean
We need more or less market to, home buyers.
Are you going to steal my thunder all day long? Do you want a microphone? All right. There they are, right there. We all know them. They don't want a disclosure issue. They don't want to spend any money, and they certainly don't want to spend $300, $400, $500, $600. And they think the buyer will get an inspection anyway. That's what we all think the answers to that question are. Those are not the real answers, by the way. You want the real answer? It's because the agent doesn't tell them to. Right? How many people go, I need to buy a house. Let's see, the first thing I need to do is get some money together for a down payment. Then I need to call this particular mortgage guy, and then I need to get a real estate agent, then I need to call this home inspection company and get a home inspection. Nobody does it. They buy a house once every 7 years. Most of your clients don't even know what a home inspection is, really, before they get to the table, they're writing the purchase agreement, and their agent tells them to get an inspection. Right? If we can get the agents to tell their clients to get a pre-listing inspection, but we're going to change that word, we're going to do a pre-listing consultation, then they will suggest it to their clients every time. Now it kind of goes back to the epiphany I had here, which I had this in a different order in my head. Of the buyers in your market, 50% of them at least are current homeowners, which means they have to sell their house to get to the new one. Right? So there's a benefit here of even if you do not get this pre-listing consultation that we're talking about today, because it's still a long shot. It's a lot easier to sell than the pre-listing inspection. And it's a lot easier to talk about with the listing agent. But you're still developing a relationship with that seller who will become a buyer. Agents think the same things. They think they're going to have disclosure issues. They can't have their client spending a dime. And they think the buyer will get an inspection anyway. So let's change the mindset. Let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of disclosure issues. No more. And for the really adventurous in this room, let's get rid of not the cost. That's a little tiny little red dot. Can anybody really see that? No. See if it gets bigger. No. Let's take the cost away up front. All right, now you don't have to. This is kind of an optional piece, but if you can do this, you'll do really well with these. And I have proof of that because we've done something very close to this concept with my home warranties. And I'll tell you a little bit about that later. So you can take that out. That's even better. And if you can get into their mind that you can take away the big surprises when the buyer gets an inspection, then they'll really be your best friend, right? Let's add to it some USPs. Does anybody know what a USP is? Other than the obvious people that I know what a USP is? Like you, Jeff. Unique selling points. Unique selling propositions. However you put it, it means something that makes you different. Anybody got something that makes them different? Yes, sir.
I throw in an energy inspection along with my regular inspection.
That's definitely one. He does an energy, would you call it a mini energy audit?
It's the same thing that the Department of Energy has on their website.
Perfect. That's an option. Matthews, you don't want to say it because you're going to like ruin everybody else in the room. Is that what it?
I use recall check.
Recall check. I knew somebody would say it.
So do I.
Yes, sir. Hey, how many recall check users we got here? A few? Woo! Wow. Sorry, I don't recognize hardly any of you. I'm joking. I recognize all of you.
Yeah, right.
I have your birthdays memorized, your anniversaries. Well, for those of you who don't have a USP in your business, let me tell you what most inspectors will say. They'll say, well, I have experience, right? Who here has experience? All right. So if you're in the market with anybody else in the room, that doesn't work. I am an ASHI member. I'm an InterNACHI member. I'm a NAHI member. I'm a PRIA member. I'm a CAPI member. Who does that? They might say that I do a thorough home inspection. Anybody here do a thorough home inspection? Who's the best inspector in the room? Everybody does. So when you're on the phone, and we've been taught this, right? We've gone to maybe some of you went to ITA or you went to an inspection school, or maybe you learned from somebody else, which is how most inspectors get into the business, right? You start working with somebody and then become an inspector, Jeff. At some point they tell you, when you answer the phone, you don't give away your prices. You don't talk about price first. Because somebody calls, they ask you your price, you go into something else. And what most inspectors do is they say, okay, I'm going to do that, so I'm going to go into my experience, how good my inspection report is. You need to be able to say things like, I do a 90-day warranty, I check for recalls, and I find known fire hazards that one out of every 10 home inspections I do that every other inspector in my market absolutely misses, does not have the resources to do. Or maybe to the real estate agent, they say, hey, we help you market yourself for life, all those sorts of things. So if you're not doing something like that, you really need to think about it. And think about why you buy products. All right? So here's some USPs for the pre-listing consultation. This is like an open discussion forum, okay? If you want to throw something out there, I actually came up with a few since I made this PowerPoint this morning that will work with this very well. So let's talk about additional marketing considerations for the agent. Okay, so we're taking away the pre-listing inspection. We're already not doing an inspection, which means we're not doing what?
Finding defects.
We are finding defects, maybe, but we're not really inspecting for them. We're not there to do an inspection. We're not giving a report.
Overview.
We're not even giving. We might give an overview. We'll talk a little bit about what that can entail. Sign placement. There's an option. Anybody here place signs for real estate agents? I do. I'm a warranty guy. I have a truck in the parking lot. He goes and places signs. It picked me up like the 3 biggest offices in town. Flyer box delivery and setup. Pictures. Anybody take pictures? Everybody does on their inspections, right? How many inspections would somebody say they've taken a week? We'll just do random. How many would you take in a week?
How many?
Pictures. Just pictures. It could be of an electrical box. It could be of the front of a house.
About 300.
300. How many do you think a real estate agent takes in a week? 5, 0. Right. We're excellent picture takers, really. We'll get into that in a little while. So if you can add something like those things, you'll have agents suggesting to their seller, whether they get a listing consultation or not, you'll have them suggesting that they use you for a listing consultation. So let's talk about the difference between a pre-listing inspection, the things you're doing and you're doing very regularly. Congratulations on that. And your business model is going well. You may not need this at all. But if you decide to ditch that model for this one, you need to know the differences. A pre-listing inspection, as most inspectors try to shove it down their clients' throats that they don't want this thing, right, is basically the same as a regular buyer's inspection. They go through, they take the electrical panel off, they find the double tap breaker, and they go, hey, it's double tap. Got to fix that. They submit a written report. Does anybody see an advantage to giving a seller a written report, really? I mean, we're creating the disclosure issue anyway, right? Now we're giving it to them in writing. Here's your evidence for later, right? But then we're also putting ourselves in the worst possible position. Because what good is that report? Our report is for our clients, right? We do not allow that to be transferred to another. Who would agree with that statement? Right? Everybody does. Guess what? Every time you do a pre-listing inspection, that inspection report is given to the next party, whether you like it or not. And if you think that you're going to write anything into your contract that's going to have you completely isolated from any potential liabilities there, talk to like Bob Pearson, because it's not going to work. So whether you like it or not, that report's getting handed off. And what happens when the buyer's inspector has a different set of findings than you? They either find less, which means you gave the seller more to worry about than they ever needed to, or they find more, which means you're not a very thorough home inspector. Wow. Can't tell you how many times I got a call from a seller when, one of our inspectors went into their house, found all this stuff that the guy that inspected it for them when they got into the house didn't catch, and they go, "Wow, I'm going to use you on my inspection." And their agent didn't use us at all. They were just impressed with the findings, right? But this puts you in a position where they're almost certainly not going to be impressed. With a pre-listing consultation, you're doing a 1-hour walkthrough with the seller. That's the goal. Now, if it's a crazy house, it's 20,000 square feet, you might do a longer one. But I don't think we're going to get those too often on those houses, because your 20,000 square foot homeowner, they have a maintenance guy, right? I mean, they call somebody to fix everything, and they could care less if $3,000 worth of stuff shows up on the inspection report. But your 1,000 square foot to 5,000 square foot house, 1 hour, you're walking through, you're looking at major items only. You're not delivering a written report. You might do a summary, but again, you're not there in the capacity as a home inspector. Okay, that's very important for regulatory issues. I'm going to talk about making some money off of these things. You could suggest changes to lessen the impact that a home inspection has, right? So here's this thing. I can see it. You might consider having a heating and cooling guy in now. Look at this, check it out, deal with it on your terms rather than trying to fix it in 48 hours so that you can go to closing and having to pay whatever you might pay for it. You're in a position now where you can have 3 people look at it and find out what's really wrong with it. And you can speak freely regarding the scope of repair. When we're working for buyers, we're very limited on that. And we're not a party to the contract. We constantly have this debate over what we put in the inspection report. This item is in need of repair, or this item needs to be repaired before closing. All right? It's like, who says? Right? I mean, yes, it needs to be repaired. It's a hot wire next to a neutral wire. They're hanging out of the child's closet wall. That needs to be repaired. But here we can speak freely about that. Here's how you fix it so that it doesn't come up on the inspection. Not here's how you fix it so that it's the ideal circumstance. Let's go over some more differences. The typical pre-listing inspection is the exact same price as the regular inspection. So you're talking about, your $300. You charge about the same, right? Or you charge more? You charge a lot less?
A bit more.
A bit more. Be smart. If I was going to do an inspection that was going to harm my ability to obtain that seller as a client on the buyer side, which we kind of have that hazard here, I would be charging more as well. It must be scheduled in a regular time block. It takes you, how long, 3 hours?
No, about 2.
2 hours, all right, good, I like it. But you still have to mark off that 2 hours. And you can't offer repairs while you're there. I mean, well, you can. You could do repairs for free. I don't want to get too deep into that one. But with a pre-listing consultation, if you're there as a consultant only, not as a home inspector, I think you could do a couple of little repairs, maybe even get paid for them. Maybe you could subcontract them. Maybe you could say, here's the list, hand it off to this contractor, have him get back to you with the bid, has your referral fee built into it. Again, you were not there as an inspector. Now, ethically speaking, I don't want to find something that's not real and have somebody fix it and make a buck off of it. But I would imagine that every person in this room, anybody here ever sold a house? Yeah? Now, when you got the inspection response and the buyer said, fix this item and this item and this item, don't you think that you spent a little bit less than the average homeowner, average seller would have? Like, when I say a little bit less, probably like 60, 70% less, because you know where to go to get something fixed. I mean, we have guys going to fireplace shops, specialty fireplace shops, to get damper clips put on for $200, $250. It's a $3 C clamp at Lowe's. All right? You could offer that, $50. You save them $200. And you're not there again as a home inspector. The cost could be substantially lower. You're only doing this for an hour. You're creating a buyer that will be a client of yours. And you can be really flexible on the scheduling time. So we're hoping again that that this seller turns into a buyer that uses you. Now, what I would do if I were going into a pre-listing consultation, and this isn't a brand new concept, okay? There's a few home inspection companies around the country that have been doing this. I didn't really know about them until we took this show and went to Cincinnati a few weeks ago, and I talked through this, and they go, hey, I kind of do something like that. These work. Let's go through some basic steps. You're looking to tell the seller how to prepare their home for the inspection. What's a really easy thing to do? Hey, you might have some light bulbs that are out. If they're out, an inspector doesn't know whether the light fixture is defective. I suppose you could switch around light bulbs. Anybody switch around light bulbs around the house to make sure that they all work? Okay, nobody does that. So if you change out the light, or if you tell them to change out the light bulbs, they won't have that issue to deal with or to explain. Accessibility issues. You can talk about clearing the space in front of the electrical panels and the attic accesses and so on and so forth. Or maybe they have a huge defect and you want them to put something in the way. Don't do that. You might want to make sure that windows and doors open. Now, you don't have to make sure all of them open. Okay, don't go through the whole house. Let's say you got double hungs and they're all painted shut. All right, do we know how to fix that? Anybody know how to fix that? All right, we just take a wood block, hammer, knock on it a little bit, and break everything loose, move it, say, okay, this window appears to be functioning properly, but this one was painted shut. If the inspector comes through and, when I inspect your home, and I always use that verbiage, when I inspect your home, I'm going to be checking every single window and making sure that it operates properly, and if it doesn't open, I'm going to mention that, and they're going to have to look into it deeper. HVAC filters. When I inspect your future house and the furnace is dirty, it hasn't been taken care of, nobody's gone to that room in years, guess what? I'm going to be looking at that furnace. I'm going to look at all of them very thoroughly, but I'm going to be looking at that one very closely because it clearly hasn't been maintained. So let's maintain your stuff. You might suggest the HVAC clean and tune, like I said before. You'll talk about typical code and safety issues. You go to a water heater, and I know codes vary from place to place. And who is a code inspector in here? Anybody? Who is not a code inspector? All right. And that's what we say, don't we? But we all inspect for some codes. Everything that we note as a safety hazard, especially in electrical or plumbing or around the water heater or with flues. Is anybody looking for a flue to be 1/4 part per 12 sloping up on the way out the door, right? Everybody's looking for that. Where does that come from? The code book, right? It's a code. So look at those issues, those typical safety issues. Go to the water heater and say, okay, this flue has an upward slope. It's clearly more than 1/4 inch per foot, so I'm not going to pull out anything to measure it. And again, I'm not here to inspect your house anyway, but I don't think you're going to have trouble there. However, these copper lines do not have a ground jumper in between them. It's a piece of wire. It's not going to cost you much. You can do it now. You don't have to hire a plumber to fix that. You can do the pressure relief valve, the extension, right? You can touch on that. It's not within 6 inches of the ground. It's PVC. Get rid of it. Right? These are really simple things. You guys get it. The pressure relief valve extension pipes, they now sell like a prepackaged thing at Lowe's for like $15. That's easy to install. Doesn't take any time at all. And you can prevent that from being an issue. Show the seller typical inspection procedures. You don't have to go around and check every outlet, but you put the outlet tester in and you tell them, now when I inspect your home, I'll be checking all of the outlets. Here's what this inspector will do. He'll plug this in and you tell them what everything means. Okay, take the mystery out of it and tell them what they're looking for. And then tell them, hey, if it's reverse polarity, here's the fix. It's not that big a deal. All right? And by the way, call me when you need a contractor. I know some people and that sort of thing. All right? remove the panel cover, identify some issues. You might identify some issues that they just cannot make an easy issue, right? So if you find an inward deflection on a concrete wall in a basement and a crack that goes like this, and water coming through it, bugs as well, I mean, this is a bad situation, right? There's no easy fix. You could say, put in 2x4s, do a little bump out like it's a column, drywall over it. There's no easy fix. I mean, if it has that inward deflection, even like an epoxy injection won't usually cut it, right, engineer? Yeah, it's not going to do it. So you might consider, especially if they're in a position where they cannot pay for that kind of repair up front, that right now they start seeking bids, getting bids on the books, okay, and they have one for $3,000, one for $5,000. They go, okay, $3,000 is reputable enough. We can't afford to do that right now. Let's go ahead and add it to our seller's disclosure. And let's throw it into the listing, special agent-to-agent comments, and say, we will fix that and escrow this much, this bid on file. Now everybody knows walking in. They're no longer uncomfortable with it. This is mine, right? Keep losing it. Right? I mean, wouldn't that help that real estate transaction go through? Yeah? And there's other issues that you might be able to get, that just might be too big of an issue for them to deal with. And so you encourage them to make it a disclosure issue. Like, I'll tell you the big one. Broken thermal seals, right? And the one solution you could offer them is to disclose it and say it's being sold in that condition. The other option they have is you could disclose it and put in an allowance to fix it. Third option is to schedule inspections only for 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't really suggest that. You might say it's less likely to be seen at certain times of the day, but you don't want to hide it. We don't want to create that issue. Help them with documentation of repairs so they can disclose it, and if they did some repairs, they can document them. And I'll give you one repair that they could do, and this involves radon testing. Anybody here test for radon? All right. Now, I'm hoping all of you that your hands didn't go up are in an area where nobody tests for radon. And you'll talk to somebody that'll tell you that radon's everywhere, and that's true. But there's areas where we don't see a lot of elevated levels, and I understand it's not the market. I'm not here to convince you to test for radon, but it's not such a bad thing to have as an option. But one thing you might do on the pre-listing consultation is you could upsell to doing a radon test. Now, what's the advantage if they do a radon test now? Anybody got one?
Yes, you can put the radon system in themselves.
Ooh, that's interesting. In your state, they can put in the radon test, the radon mitigation system themselves. I was hearing that going, ooh, I know that's not allowed in Illinois, right? But I was thinking that. The other thing is there's several mitigative procedures. You don't have to do the full-blown mitigation system in order to change the mitigation or the radon scenario in a house, right? So you might be able to put a sump pump cover on. You might be able to put a vapor barrier down in a crawl space. So, change anything, reestablish normalcy in the house, do another radon test that comes back low. Anybody here happen to use Rattlink? A few. Guess what? When you guys do a radon test, and this is why everybody should have at least one Rattlink radon monitor. When you do a radon test for a seller and it comes back at 3.8, they get a radon protection plan with that test that says if it comes back anytime in the next 120 days higher than 4.0, that Rattllink's radon protection plan will actually cover the cost of mitigating. So now you're guaranteeing to the seller that they don't have that issue, right? And there's less false positives because it is a very accurate system. So I don't want to dwell on that, but there's another option for your sellers. You could show them where critical shutoffs are, okay? Help them so that they know where these things are and if something happens, because after the inspection, somebody's testing something that hasn't been used in a long time. the rubber was just about to go. It does go that night. Water's pouring through the ceiling. Here's where your main water shutoff is. A lot of people don't know where those are. And remember to always use that phrase. Now when, not if. When I inspect the home for you, this is what I will be checking. All right? Do that constantly.
In doing this,
Yes, sir.
can you not be really educating them how to do their own inspection?
That's interesting. Actually, you could educate them about why they don't want to do their own home inspection. All right? Right? I mean, we could do that both ways. Either the Aborigines are a really good market for selling shoes, or they're never going to wear shoes, right? You can do it both ways. That's code, I'm sorry. So here's what I would do. And if you listen to enough inspector conferences, you'll get really good pieces of information. And he walks in right at the moment I'm going to say this, but I was at an electrical class with Mike in where was I? Somewhere in Ohio, Columbus, I believe. And he talked about when you go up to the electrical panel, here's what I do. I take safety goggles out. I have them with me. They're cheap. They're $10 safety goggles. And I put them on right before I take the electrical panel off. Now, that does a couple of things. One, it protects my eyes because I can't do a lot without my eyes if I'm a home inspector. But two, it lets everybody else around me know that there's danger here. And there really is. I mean, all of us have opened up an electrical panel hundreds of times, never ran into a problem, maybe been shocked a couple of times. I have. But, if you've had an arc jump out at you, if that connected, you could have a serious issue. When you do things like that, you let them know the dangers of this, then they know that they're not qualified to do it. And frankly, you're not going as deep as you can. This is not a full home inspection. This is a consultation only. My goal is to make this cost as little for you as possible. When I'm working for you, I'm trying to make sure that you know exactly what you're buying and that it's in the condition that it was supposed to be. So I don't think there's much of a risk of that. But if it happens to you, call me and yell at me. Now, you can suggest items to be further evaluated in documenting this, okay? And this is if you're going to do something in writing. I'm suggesting you don't. But if you do something in writing, suggest that this item might need further evaluation. Make sure to include verbiage that says this house has not been inspected. All right. Now, I don't want to go down the liability path with home inspectors because somehow when you get into a room of home inspectors, and this is in an industry where we're so well regulated. I mean, all of you guys do phenomenal home inspections, okay? All of you guys are pretty thorough. I do not know a single home inspector that I've ever met that gets up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm really not going to do a great home inspection today, and that's my goal. They don't. They all care about what they do, and we're very well self-regulated, right? I mean, we talk about technical a lot, but we talk about liability even more. And every time I talk to a home inspector, eventually they'll say, oh, well, that's a liability. And then I go, have you ever been sued for that? And the answer is always, well, no. Okay. How do we know? Give me a case number. They can't. But I want to make sure at least, just because the liability might be overblown in some scenarios doesn't mean we want to be stupid. Make sure to have some verbiage that says this home was not inspected by ABC Home Inspections. We have an ABC Home Inspections here, of course. Usually you're my default generic inspection company. I apologize. It's not been inspected by ABC Home Inspections. This is not a report to rely on, and none of the systems have been evaluated thoroughly, right? Something along those lines. Give a copy to the seller or the listing agent on site. Don't make it an email later. Don't make it a communication later. I don't like that. I think that the fact that you emailed something from at blah, 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 homeinspections.com could cause an issue. So let's just give it right there on site. Items you might consider including a support number. Now, this is a support number for the inspection response. So you let the client know, hey, I'm here just to do a 1-hour consultation. And if the buyers have an inspection done, they're going to find stuff that we didn't talk about. Okay? And frankly, if I did full inspection, I'd find a lot of stuff that I didn't talk about here today either. But when you get a buyer with an inspection response. Don't call me right after they did the inspection. I don't want to talk about that home inspector's inspection, because the only thing that matters to you is what the buyer asks you to fix. So once you have that and the seller's inspection report, here's a card, has a number on it. You call me, and I'll be happy to go through it with you and tell you exactly what you should probably do to meet the qualifications of fixing this for that buyer without spending too much money. And if something's totally off, I'll tell you that too. Now, I'll tell you, I've sold a few homes in my day, and I've had inspectors from other companies inspect my homes, and it seems like when they see the name Thornberry on there, they get very overzealous, and they find all this stuff. They do, you know? Anybody ever had their house inspected by another home inspector? Was it brutal? No, not at all. I had a guy look for he told the buyers that there had to be a vapor barrier in the wall, the exterior wall of my garage. Now, is that a code anywhere? Does anybody require a vapor barrier in it? Okay, it's a wall. It's never going to condense. It's an exterior thing. It's not living space. And I was going to fight it, and then the real estate agent told me that the guy was going to walk from the deal because I was fighting it. I said, "Oh, fine, I'll put it in. No big deal." But it just bugged me so much. I think if I was not the kind of cocky home inspector's son that this guy had not liked for years, that it might have gone differently if I had called another home inspection company and come back to him with, I'm wondering what the standard is for that. Do you have a code to back that up or anything? It might have gone differently. And I think that you can give your clients that scenario, because inspectors call things out all the time as, that should be recommended, but they call them defects, right? A coupon good towards your services might be a nice option. So you do the consultation, hand them a coupon, make sure they're your client by the time they get to the inspection. You're also giving them a value here, so whatever money they spent, they get some of that back, right? So they don't feel like they lost it. And the other thing you might consider, and there's a little $sign, there's my little red dot, a couple of $signs, you might consider giving them a vendor list. Now you can populate that vendor list in one of two ways. You can do it by just companies that you'd like to refer because you're a really nice guy or gal. Or you could charge to be on the vendor list. You could charge per consultation you do. Anybody uncomfortable with that? Good. More money for the rest of you. There's no problem with that. There's no ethical consideration with that. I grew up an Ashley kid with those code of ethics plastered on the wall from the time I was like 6. All right? We don't find a problem at an inspection and then make money off of that problem. Okay? That's the basic tenet. There's nothing in the Ashley code of ethics, nothing in the Nahi code of ethics, nothing in the InterNACHI. They have a code of ethics, right? They do. It's almost written exactly the same. They get a lot of crap for it from some other organizations, but they're all three great organizations with about the same code of ethics. Nothing in there says a home inspector can only make money from home inspections. You can make it from a vendor list, and if you're uncomfortable with that, that's okay, then don't. But if I'm going to refer somebody, you are taking on an inherent liability, and I'm not saying liability as in you're going to get sued, an inherent reputation liability that someone's going to call that provider, they're not going to get treated exactly right, they call you and say, "Hey, that guy sucked. Sorry," right? Or you can fix it or call the guy. Either way, you're going to spend time on the issue. And hopefully if there is a problem that comes up, you use it as a marketing opportunity to make yourself look better. The other thing you could do is, let's see if it's on the thing. No, it's not. I didn't put this on there because I didn't want everybody to get mad before I said it. The other thing you could do is you could just go ahead and do some of the minor repairs yourself. I mean, whether you're a licensed contractor or you do things that don't require the contractor's license, you could offer them right there. And what we're talking about here for that hour, what is that worth? Maybe it's, again, no liability from the standpoint of an inspection report because you're not doing an inspection report. You're there as a consultant only. So is that a $100 item? Is it a $200 item? Is it a $300 item? Whatever it is, you price it accordingly. But while you're there, it's $5 for an outlet cover. It's $8 for a smoke detector battery. I mean, and these prices could be much higher, and still there is a client benefit, because for those outlet covers, they would have had to get in their car. At the very least, they get in their car, they go to Lowe's, they find the one that they think is right, they come back, they find out it's not right, they go back to Lowe's, and by now they've spent more money than you would have ever charged. Or they look at the C-clamp issue on the fireplace damper, and you're talking about a whole lot more of a difference, right? And you can do it for $50. They're never going to get, nobody rolls into a customer's driveway as a contractor today for less than $65, $75, right? So you can save them a lot of money. Now, if you just offer a basic pre-listing consultation, as we've talked about here, you have a much different conversation to have with the listing agent, okay? So how does this sound? I want to make sure that your transactions go smoother, and I'm not wanting to give your seller a lot of disclosure issues. So let's do a pre-listing consultation for that seller. I know the house a little bit. Let's make sure that they're prepared. And, that's a good conversation. A lot of your agents, you guys probably know a few agents that would just simply recommend you for that because they recommend you for everything. They didn't want a full inspection for their sellers. It was a product they did not want. So let's stop pushing it down their throats. Now let's add to it. These are those USPs we talked about earlier, the additional marketing considerations, the sign placement, pictures, flyer box delivery. You could create a custom website for each listing. All right? Now that's either cheap or free. It's certainly easy. Anybody know how to build a website in here? All right, a few. Okay, if you don't know how to build a website, you could have somebody do it. You could create a Facebook page for a listing. All right? Now this is what I was talking about earlier. This was a blast-off moment for our business in Indianapolis. I mean, a blast-off. We're as a warranty company, we're in many states. Indianapolis is probably our biggest market. And we did, in any given month, new transactions only, not renewals, 300 to 500 warranties. It's a good market, and we have about 35% of it. As soon as we started offering, close your ears, Marisbeck. As soon as we started offering this product, which was, hey, you offer our warranties to your sellers, we'll put together a landing page, we'll advertise it on Facebook, we did all this cool stuff for them. We took that business and tripled it in 1 month. Because the listing agents would just tell their clients to do it. And it's not like when they ask their clients if they want to do something, that their clients go, well, maybe. They go, oh, you're here to sell my house. Yeah, I'm doing that. In fact, NAR came out with some stats many years ago that 80% of the time, the clients are going to do exactly what their agent tells them to do with the first person that comes out of their mouth, the first name. So here, you're going to be the first name every time. So if you do happen to create like a listing website like we've done, these are kind of the must-includes. These are MLS-based items. We want, property address, the pictures, the broker's name, a phone number, that sort of thing. And we actually do this for some of our clients. Okay, there's a few of them in here that are on programs where they'll have the option to go in and enter information and create one of these. I'm not trying to sell you on that program, but this is a very easy website to build. You could do it on WordPress for free. And if you wanted to do a domain, okay, which a lot of agents used to do this before, and frankly, if you don't have a website, or even if you do, you might consider something like this, because I know a lot of people use GoDaddy and it's like $15 for a domain. These are $8.88, economicaldomains.com. I go there and I start up a website for my agent's listings for $8.88, 123mainstreet.com, 7470 Lakewood Court.com, right? And then they print that. They will go, if I do that, they'll go and print up a sign and put it on their listing with the with that web address. By the way, on that website, I advertise that it has a warranty for me. I don't know, you might advertise your home inspections. This is the same website, it's just a version as a Facebook page. Same basic stuff. Very easy to do. Again, you can do it through WordPress. Facebook used to have this special language called Facebook Markup Language, but they've switched to where it's just HTML. Sign placement. Now this one's interesting. Anybody ever seen an agent placing the riders on their signs? Right? You drive by, I honk. I honk and laugh. Because, it would be a very, proper real estate agent in her heels, and she's got the jacket thing, and she's walking through a muddy yard, placing her signs. I just think that's so silly. Because what they do is they're brokers generally, if they have those big like T-bars with the 4x4 wood, they will send that out, charge the agent for sending that out, put their main placard. They do not care about their name with the phone number or the little hangers at the bottom that say pool and spa or whatever. So what we did was we started offering the sign placement for them. If they're using our stuff, we do it for free. It's helping to market the house so we don't have a RESPA issue because we're not doing it for the agent per se. But you can also just place the riders for them, all right? Because they don't have a place to put it hardly ever. They only have their garage. They don't have a way to keep them inventoried. So we came up with that. Anyway, so that's something you might look into. You can look at our website, thesigntrack.net. But that's an option. And with regular signs, even the placement signs like the ones you step on, the ones in the metal, those ones are really easy to manage. Anybody here think that if you have a relationship with a real estate agent where you place all their signs, that they're not going to be referring you like all the time? They're going to be referring you all the time. Pictures. Now this one's an interesting one. I've seen a couple of inspectors doing it where they will actually go out and during their pre-listing inspections, let's get rid of that word, consultations. They're doing inspections. I'm preaching consultation. They'll just take pictures of the property. Now we heard earlier that we have an inspector here that takes 300 pictures a week, and I've seen pictures on the front of these inspection reports because we run, the 90-day warranties, and we get hundreds of claims every week. And when we get a claim, they send us the inspection report. And I've seen some of you guys' pictures of the fronts of these houses. They are pretty good. Don't seem that much better on the MLS, really. I know of a few agents that still hire professionals, but not many, right? So maybe when you do the consultation, you'll take pictures for the agent and send them to them so that they can put them on the MLS. See, how hard is it? That is pretty hard because that sky isn't real. All right? Don't do that. The agent can do this. They take the regular picture and then they go and modify it. A lot of them have little programs to do that. That's the same house. That's the real sky that day. All right? I've seen this picture on the front of a home inspection report 1,000 times. You guys could take that. That one's pretty easy. Yeah? I mean, is this complicated? No, not at all. But you could offer it. And think if an agent knows that they go out for the listing appointment, they talk to their client, they tell them how to stage their home, right? They tell them, move that. They're rarely ready to take pictures on that first day. But if they do their listing presentation, they sign up the listing, they tell them what their commission is going to be, they give them their estimated net proceeds from closing, and then they say, now, by the way, with every listing that I do, I suggest that you get a pre-listing consultation from ABC Home Inspections, John Poplava. And when they come out, have your house ready with these things done, because they're going to take pictures while they're here. They have ladders, they have the ability to go places I can't. But also they're going to make sure that we don't have any surprises on the inspection. That's a kitchen. That's a little bit of a wide angle view. You might not have a camera that can do that, but it would just flatten the picture a little bit if you had your regular inspection camera. You don't need any more equipment. And then flyer box delivery and setup. This is an easy one. So you're going out there for the consultation anyway. Those little flyer boxes that the agents do, you guys seen them? They say take one. That is a big pain for the real estate agents. And again, you can do this for that seller. This is to help them sell that house. There's no RESPA issues here at all. And besides, home inspectors aren't really SSPs, settlement service providers. But there is kind of a problem with the NAR code of ethics if, like you said to a real estate agent, hey, just send me a home inspection, I'll give you $50. Can't do that. You can, however, help that seller with a nice new flyer box, pre-printed flyers. You can have the agent email you the flyer so that you can print it up 50 times, take it out there with you with the flyer box. Now, this is not the ones that I buy, but These ones are available to the public. $13.99 for a flyer box. Okay, let's just build that into the price, right? It's not hard to do. I hope some of you are taking this and going, okay, I could do this. Or maybe thinking about what you're offering or not offering with your other really primary objective, which is the buyer's home inspection, right? Flyer design's pretty easy. There are websites that sell flyer design templates to real estate agents, and they'll pay like $15 a month for this. You could pay $15 a month and do it for 100 agents. That flyer design template company doesn't know any wiser. So again, these sellers are buyers. Your name in front of them, coming from the realtor, turns them into clients of yours. Now, how do you deliver the message to the agents? Obviously, sales presentations. This is something new to talk about, right? You could have the same conversation with them. You go to the sales presentation and say, hey guys, my name's John with ABC Home Inspections, and I've come here to talk to you today about your listings. I know you guys have some listings out there, and I'd like to have a raffle today for one of you to get our free listing consultation with ABC Home Inspections. Now, for those of you that are entering, just pass your cards over to the right. Let me tell you what that's going to include. That's something we usually do for about, we're a group of home inspectors in a room, so I'm saying this price as an example, not as a price setting thing, okay? For $250, we come out, we do a 1-hour consultation with your client to make sure that there are no major issues with the house that you are going to have to deal with and maybe not go to closing because of. Now, by the way, when we go there, I'm going to be taking all the pictures so that you can see them, use them in the MLS, and I'm going to deliver a flyer box with 50 pre-printed flyers ready to go in the yard in the right place, and everybody's going to be passing a card over. And the ones that don't win are going to be thinking, I kind of want that too, right? Now, the ones that don't want it at all think, wow, that's an inspector who is very thoughtful about his business. Maybe I ought to try him on the buyer's side. So why is it that sellers don't get more pre-listing inspections? Do we have the answer to that yet? Because I said the real answer before. Go ahead, Jeff.
Because their agents don't tell them.
Because their agents don't tell them to. That is very, very close to the real answer. I misrepresented it as the real answer earlier. Because we never taught our agents to tell the clients to do it. All right? So if we make this, this could be a standard. When I started in the business at 2 years old.
Was that 10 years ago?
1983. Yeah. Get closer to this gray hair, buddy. In 1983, I was 2 years old. My father was an electrician. My mother was a real estate agent. And there was this kind of new industry of home inspection, right? At the time, it was like 20% of real estate transactions in the area were getting home inspections at all, right? Look at how far we've come. Is it because a home inspection is a good idea? No. Who said yes? A lot of things are a good idea. We should all go get a screening for blood pressure today. Are we doing it? No. If somebody was tapping you on the shoulder going down the hall and there's a cardiologist going, hey, you're going to have a problem tomorrow, then you do it. But home inspections are regular in the transactions because the real estate agents tell them to be. People don't think they need a home inspection. They don't know anything about it. All right, now, I do not like free. You can come to my booth and I will give you nothing for free. Except for a DVD, but even that's not free. You got to give me a business card, and then Chris is going to call you unmercilessly. Until you do a little 30-minute one-on-one, and for the 30% of you in the room that don't do recall check, you'll find out why the other 70% do. Once we do a one-on-one with you, about 95% of the people end up using us in some fashion. And Chris, if you wouldn't mind, you have DVDs for everybody?
Of course.
Fantastic. Pass those around. Pass around that newsletter with all the misspellings in it. Anybody who finds all of the misspelled words, you get nothing, but it's kind of fun.
Where's Waldo?
Yes. So I'm generally against free. But when there's a strategy behind free, it works. Let me give you a great strategy behind free. Brand new deli, middle of a business district. Okay, you got 2 miles of businesses, skyscrapers, whatever, new deli. They do corned beef. If they go around to all those businesses and give them a coupon for $2 off a sandwich and drink combo, guess what's going to happen? They're going to get the exact same amount of business. They're just going to make $2 less per combo. But if they go around to all of those businesses and say, next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, everything we have is free. We're opening. It's going to be free. You come there, you're going to get a free lunch. Well, that's like an offer people can't refuse, right? Well, thank you very much, Mike. They come there, and now they're comfortable with it. They're comfortable going to a restaurant. How many people go to a new restaurant every single day? Right? Nobody. We have our comfort spots. I go to Chipotle like 3 times a week. All right? The same one. I don't go to the different one. I know the people there. I know the service I'm going to get. I have an idea of what it's going to be like the next morning. So give this away to one agent in every office. That's a great strategy. Do it as a giveaway. Get their information. Put them in your marketing funnels. And let them experience what it's like to have a pre-listing consultation with your company, and let them go back to the office and talk about it. And if you do all the crazy stuff, which there's everything under the sun you could do to make this even more unique. But if you go out and you do the website for them, or you do the drop-off with the flyers, or you do whatever, they're going to talk to other agents in their office about it. Heck, you might even consider going out, dropping the flyer box, printing off the 50 flyers, printing off the flyers along with a picture of the flyer box in front of the house, and distributing that to all the other agents in their office and saying, congratulations, Sonia, for winning this awesome house. Hope you sell it soon. Right? Matthews is liking this. All right, we have a website. You might want to take it down. HomeInspectorWebinar.com. You guys came to this class. You get absolutely no continuing education credit at all. I don't know if all of you are aware of that, but I appreciate it, because this is where you build your business. You don't build your business in a it's nothing against a classroom about how to properly install a toilet, but that doesn't exactly help you build your business. And at some point, we have the resources page at recallcheck.com. I hope all of you have been there. If you haven't, give us a business card at our booth. We'll do a one-on-one with you. There's no purchase necessary. You're entered to win $500 cash. We'll show you the resources page where you can design flyers, and they come off. They have your logo. We don't need your logo, man. We already have the Amerispec logo in our system. When you go here, you're going to find resources like our inspector complaint form. Okay, it slows you down. It makes sure that you know the questions to ask if you get a complaint, and so that you don't create a liability for yourself. We're going to put in some resources in regards to this pre-listing consultation program as well. Some brochures, some flyers, different derivations of it. And it doesn't matter whether you're actually using Recall Check or not. You just want to be a member of that site because of the kind of resources that it has. Now, let's talk for a minute. And I forgot to make this the right color. So if you can't see it in the back, I apologize. But we've talked a lot about what an agent might want for really kind of a new product, right? Because we've always offered them that pre-listing inspection. Let's offer them this new product that I think they want. We just have to teach them that they want it. What do you think agents want on the buyer's side of the transaction? All right, I put together my own little list, but anybody have a suggestion? What a buyer's agent might want for their buyer?
Every little thing they can.
A warranty.
There you go. A warranty, everything under the sun. And you guys deliver that. Done for them marketing, I'm thinking is a good idea. Benefits they can't get anywhere else. You might consider protection for them. About 50% of the room carries E&O. Where are you? A little bit more than 50. Nice. Talk to your E&O provider. Ask them if they provide protection for the referring agent. Okay? And if they don't, you might consider hiring somebody that does. Because if you can go to a real estate agent and say, hey, when you refer me, you cannot be sued for referring me. My insurance company will come to your defense. On-site or fast reporting. Anybody take more than 24 hours to release a report? We got a couple of yeses. They're not. You don't have to raise your hand or stand up, but you really need to change that. Okay? And don't tell me it can't be done. It might take a little longer than you want it to, but what you really need to consider doing is staying for Mike's class here at 4:30. Well, don't stay. Go and then come back. On the report blueprint, it'll help you a lot in getting that thing out the door in a way that agents like and that clients like. And you can satisfy both parties. It's possible. They want one-stop shopping if you're not offering termite inspections, radon testing, pool and spa. I could go down a whole list. Then you're missing out. You're missing out on revenue, one, which is silly. And as a licensed real estate salesperson, I am. I don't want to tell my client, I don't want to take 10 seconds to do anything if I'm a real estate agent. I certainly don't want to talk to them about going to this company for this company for this. Oh, and then you have a well and septic, you better call this company. And then, oh, come on. If I have a one-stop shop, I don't care if you're subbing out those services. I don't care if you're doing them in-house, if you're truly certified to do it, if you even arrange it and then have the payment come out separately and bill it separately. However you got to do it, get it done. They're looking for consistency, and they're looking for something right here. Phone's answered. Who here answers their phone every time it rings, period, no matter what? This is a good room. I'm sorry, I'm wasting my time. If you're not answering your phones, because, I mean, you shouldn't. There's times you shouldn't. You should not answer your phones while you're in a crawl space, on a roof, in an attic, at an inspection, with clients, with your kids. I answer the phones when I'm with my kids, but I'm an exception because I'm answering it for you, and you're not answering it when you're with your kids. My kids are listening half the time when you're talking to me. You should consider hiring a call center. Now, over time, we've seen a lot of them. There's only 2 that are here every single year. Part-time, by the way, my customers get it for like $95 just for like a message-only home inspector savvy call center. If you're using recall check or 90-day warranties. Full-time, Paul Zach, standing in the back of the room there, America's Call Center. Looking at his services too. If you're not answering it, it is costing you money. And if you say, well, I never lose an inspection for that, you're dead wrong. Let's see what else. They might like familiarity. They used to be called relationships. You got to be in the agent's head 24/7. That means Facebook, etc. We don't need to do that. And that's all there. So I think I went pretty fast, didn't I? Wow. All right. Any questions from anybody? Yes, sir.
I stepped out.